Across the wire on Tuesday afternoon, out is the sluggernaut Johnny Parsons, and in is a very interesting prospect that did not have to cross the space-time continuum that is Dana White's Contender Series, a direct to the UFC signing. It's Myktybek Orolbai, and Matt, when it comes to Orolbai, if you do consider it, they pronounce it in the LFA as Myktybek. They consider his name Myktybek over with ACA, so I'm going to go with that as the pronunciation. We'll call him Orolbai throughout the video, but this is a very interesting prospect. You look at a record like this, 11-1-1, you go back and you watch his one loss, I don't even think that he lost that fight. So it's pretty crazy to see that he's made it all the way up into the UFC. A guy who's fought at lightweight, a guy who's fought at welterweight. Not that uncommon from the story of Uros Medic, who made it from Serbia over to Alaska. The unlikely journey that was from lightweight up to welterweight. And we know Uros Medic's last win over Matthew Semmelsberger. It's really wowed a lot of fans. So I know there's a lot of people out there that are really excited about the prospect in this fight. A lot of people know him because back on October 27th, he had a knockout of the year contender against Hayward Charles. Now, Charles was a giant underdog, and Myktybek Orolbai was a minus 2,300 favorite. Now listen, he comes from Kyrgyzstan, and fans of MMA, they know that one big Kyrgyzstani fighter, and Valentina Shevchenko, is usually a pretty big favorite. But for Orolbai, minus 2,300 against Hayward Charles, and at the first opening seconds of that fight, less than 10 seconds in, Charles lunges in, Orolbai hits him with a left hook, he drops Charles, and I thought, oh boy, this fight's gonna go really bad. And it was a completely one-sided fight. It's knockout of the year, but like, it's fire sale knockout of the year. It's heavily discounted because if you look at it, Hayward Charles, wow, 18 men he's beaten, 15 have beaten him. So wasn't really the greatest opponent, but again, Charles to the side, giant uppercut, the Krusty the Clown hair flies up in the air, and he lands down. The most important thing for Orolbai, though, if you only watch his highlights, you might think this guy's an excellent boxer, this guy's a striker.
There's more to him than you would know.
Look at his very good kicks. This guy, Ron Crux says after the win over Charles, he's a Kyrgyzstani national champion wrestler. If you do a deep dive on Google, you'll see, and I found it, Myktybek Orolbai Ulu, they say, was a youth champion Sambo, world champion in Sambo in the youth category in 2018. He would have been an old youth, like 18, 19 years old then. But still, he's very, very, very adept with his wrestling. If he doesn't get the first takedown, he'll continue to try and rinse and repeat. You see that in his fight, in his debut with the LFA against Fuller. You'll see that even in the loss, where he did get touched up as the fight went on, round 2, round 3. He got hit quite a bit. But his wrestling can carry him through a lot. So again, I know fans are really excited about the prospect, and I'm sure you were as well.
It was really fun tape study to go back and do because he's a very aggressive fighter and a very damaging fighter as well. Not only with the grappling, like you had mentioned, but with both sides of his hands too. And I'm happy you bring that up. He doesn't just have power from one side because he loads up on shots. And that's the one negative I would say about his game. Sometimes he will emphasize the power over the volume or even just the accuracy too. And that's when he can get into trouble by loading up on some of those bigger hooks and uppercuts. But when he walks forward and is sound defensively with the threat of the wrestling, there is a lot to really enjoy out of his game. The couple issues I think he might have in this fight, though, is Uros Medic is a fast guy, and I think he was planning for a fighter who might not be 100% like Myktybek, but you can at least take some of the striking and apply it, right? He's going to go for a lot more grappling than Parsons would have, but I think you're going to be watching for a lot of those same hooks. You're still going to be cognizant of that power on the inside, and I still think Medic is going to want to use that range and his footwork.
Well, I mean, if you look at it for Johnny Parsons, he's short, stocky's not the right word, he's thick, and he's a very, very good Muay Thai fighter who can do it at range, but he typically does his work at welterweight in tight. Myktybek Orolbai will fight a little bit longer, and I know you can see the height, little bit of a disadvantage there for Orolbai, but in terms of the reach, now again, those are the LFA stats that I threw up there. Orolbai has the advantage, and when you watch Orolbai, the big thing that I wanted to take away, his arms, regardless of if it's 74.6 or whatever the UFC decides to put up there when they measure his wingspan, Orolbai has such long arms that you can see that his elbow's down by his liver, he can cover, and his fist is up by his head. most people don't have forearms that are that friggin' long. So when you're watching these Orolbai fights, watch the wrestling, watch the striking.
And the ground and pound's really good too. That's what helps him open up a lot of these submissions that you do see on the record. He's really good at taking the back, but what he likes to do from that position is he'll go for a lot of ground and pound before he does start to look for the choke.
You do look at the record. Again, he's gone to decision once. He's got a lot of finishes, submissions, and by TKO. If you look at it for Orolbai, his 4 submission wins all came in his first 5 fights. His first 5 fights, there were 4 wins and a draw. If you look at all those submission wins, they were all over debuting fighters. Myktybek Orolbai is not a submission fighter, and I don't think we'd see that against Uros Medic. If you go and watch Medic fights again, southpaw, he's got that great right hook that'll throw in there. He mixes in really good kicks. You saw the flying knee performance bonus that he had when he took on Ailin Cruz in the UFC debut. Victorious on Dana White's Contender Series 2020 was Uros Medic, and if you look at it 3-1 in the UFC, that giant win over Semmelsberger after a long time away, broken hand, the lot, and he comes back and he looks really good. The other thing that I want to focus on with Orolbai, his first fight in the LFA against Fuller, he missed weight, and I said he used to be a lightweight. He had 2 or 3 fights fall through. You even see on his record he's supposed to take on Landon Quinones in 2022 at lightweight. Matt, it seems like every weekend I'm talking about Landon Quinones. You get your shouts, bud, but that fight didn't happen with Titan FC. The fights come up, they fall out. He weighed 172 for that debut. He wrestle-fumped like Mr. Connors on South Park, real wrestling. He came in there at 172, and he was able to get it done and look really good. But since then, 167, he is kind of a tweener in this weight class, and even the commentary said a couple times, wouldn't be surprised if this guy moves down to 155. So we'll see it in this fight, Matt. The odds, there's only a couple sites out there. Orolbai is actually a slight favorite in this matchup. We have a look at the Tapology votes, though, Matt. I think I might have a good idea. I'm going to say over under 70% Medic.
Probably over just because he was expecting a fight.
Yeah, and it is 979 total votes. So the fans showed up on Tapology. 80% Medic, 77% by knockout. For the 20% that have Orolbai, 29% by decision, 60% by knockouts. Matt, the fans, they're saying knockout in this one. The big thing that I didn't mention, even in the Orolbai fight against Hayward Charles, he get hit by a big right hook. He's got a good chin. He get hit by a spinning back fist. In his fight before that, he was taking on a top Brazilian, Glaucio Elizario. He got hit by some big right hands. Again, in the fight that he lost. Second round, he got touched up a little bit. I thought he won the first round. Thought he won the second round. Third round was pretty competitive. But his opponent was able to kind of land as the fight went on. So I'm eager to see what the cardio looks like. I'm eager to see what the weigh-ins look like when this fight happens. Because the last short notice fight that he really had, he missed weight. So we'll see how that one goes for him. But this guy, Orolbai, Matt, Team Alpha Male, CSA gym with Kieran Fitzgibbons. He's working a striking with Slava Borshev, Chris Gonzalez. He's working the well-rounded game with Max Payne Griffin over at Team Alpha Male. He's got a bright future ahead of him. I'm a really big fan of this fight.
He definitely does have a bright future ahead of him, and everybody's going to roll their eyes. This is one of those fights where if it wasn't a full training camp, I think I would pick him. Just because
I'm
like
picking him in this fight.
That's fine. I just don't know if the short notice nature is going to help him all that much. I think the speed's going to be difficult for him to match with Medic on the outside. If he's able to collapse that distance, then it's going to be a completely different story. I just think Medic at 170 is a better fighter than we saw at 155.
And I'm really eager to see the grappling out of Uros Medic because you remember it on the regional scene, the fights against Jason Flowers, Leesholm Jr., where they're flipping and slipping and sliding. He was able to do it against some lesser competition in Alaska. He's been training at King's MMA for a really long time now, accentuating that already good striking. For me, I'm going to go with Myktybek Orolbai. I think the grappling is going to be able to win it out for him. But again, on short notice, that cardio wanes. We've seen that happen once in his career. It's the lone loss. It could happen here as well. So make sure you tune in for this fight, Matt. No question mark kicks this week. I'm away. None on YouTube anyway. We might do something on Instagram, so make sure you follow us over there at Fight Night Picks to find that. Matt, big weekend fights. You are going to want to keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. We always say, let's get into it.